Glory Week! Yeah. Hello everybody, CritCrab here with another story, this one about a barbarian that had the power of godhood at his fingertips, but disrespectfully declined. Roll post. Slight spoilers for Waterdeep, Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Sometimes my players astound me, and sometimes they just leave me fucking dumbfounded. This is going to be a bit of a long one, and most of the story is going to be the background for what led up to the final moments of this campaign. If you would just like to see the reason for the title, skip to the last few paragraphs or so. I was DMing for a group of 6, and they were playing Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Although I added a fair amount of my own content to the module, I had a somewhat large party. 6 people in total, though we started with 7. A human totem barbarian / pseudo paladin, a human battlemaster fighter, tiefling knowledge cleric of a homebrewed goddess named Gloria, dwarf celestial warlock, human mystic, and a vampire, planeshift race, blackguard paladin. We had an elf rogue / barbarian early in the campaign, but the player left because of personal reasons. I could write a book about all of the awesome and insane stuff this party did, but the ending of this campaign was something I just had to share. Some relevant background. In the campaign, the party discovered somewhat early on that Hallister was siphoning magic from all the fights and battles in Undermountain in order to fuel his ascension to godhood. They also knew he needed a massive sacrifice to power a ritual that would complete the ascension, and that sacrifice would be Waterdeep itself. So while they still had to fight their way through the Undermountain, the party also spent time making sure they would have the favors of various gods in order to help them when they needed it most. The party returned an ancient elven artifact to Evermeet. This earned them the friendship of an Evermeet princess and chosen of Corellon. She bestowed several magic items to the party that they used throughout the campaign. They teamed up with Yarlaxle Bainry to find a lost temple of Illustrae and complete a ritual that would alert drow all over the planet to the existence of the good drow goddess, earning them massive favor with her. The paladin and warlock served Waterdeep in their free time, which earned them the favor of Waterdeep's open lord Silverhand, a chosen of Mystra. The party's fighter and barbarian allied with a bronze dragon to slay problematic chromatic dragons and earn the favor of Bahamut. The party's warlock went above and beyond in terms of his pact with the goddess, earning him her favor. The party's cleric and barbarian served their goddess so faithfully that the cleric eventually became her chosen while the barbarian became her champion, earning them the favor of the goddess. They did all of this in order to have a powerful divine force on their side when they initiated a ritual to sever Hallister's connection to Undermountain after killing him, preventing him from returning to life. This all led up to the final 2 sessions of the campaign. After all of this, months of working towards stopping Hallister, they finally confronted him in his tower on the bottom floor of Undermountain. And there he made them a surprising offer. Hallister had become increasingly worried that the party possessed the power to stop him. So at the last moment before their final fight, he offered to allow one of them to become a god alongside him, and would change the target of his sacrifice to one of their choice. After receiving this offer, the party began arguing over who should get it, and it nearly devolved into infighting, but a few calmer heads managed to prevail. The party decided they'd just kill Hallister then and there. Combat started, but Hallister was fighting differently than usual. He wasn't wearing his standard magic items, and he wasn't using his most powerful spells, and he was not fighting efficiently. The combat only lasted 2 rounds before Hallister was slain. The players seemed kind of let down. Was that really it, one of them asked me? They investigated the body, and after triple checking, they were convinced that was truly the real Hallister that they had just killed. The group quickly set up the ritual to sever Hallister's connection to Undermountain by calling on the favor of all of the gods they had earned. The check for the ritual barely passed, but the group managed to sever the Mad Mage from the Undermountain. They thought they had won, but one thing none of them had noticed when entering Hallister's tower was that it was situated in a demiplane. Several minutes after Hallister died, that tower collapsed, sending everything and everyone in it across the plains. With the group scattered across the plains, only the cleric had the means to return herself back to Waterdeep with word of recall. When she returned, she learned Hallister had pulled a fast one on the party. He let himself be killed to scatter the party and had his simulacrum in hiding to reincarnate him. She also found out that while they spent nearly a month in the dungeon on their final push towards Hallister, Waterdeep had become embroiled in a bitter confrontation with Thayan forces attempting to attack the city in order to storm Undermountain and claim Hallister's ritual for himself. With less than a day until the ritual was complete, they knew Sas Tam himself would likely show up. Earlier in the campaign, when the party was searching for the lost temple of Illustrae, they encountered a group of red wizards from Thay that were additionally searching for the temple. After the party dealt with the red wizards, they took an interest in the party. This led to some scrying spells and some other methods being used that alerted Sas Tam to what Hallister was attempting. The cleric met with the Open Lord, who offered to get all of the party members back for her, but only if the group served as the primary means of deterrence against Tam. The cleric accepted this deal, but also made one with Hallister himself. She used sending spells to let Hallister know the party was already back and that Tam was coming. She asked for him to put his offer back on the table in exchange for them not letting Tam walk right up to Hallister. One of the party would become a god as well as Hallister, and Hallister would change the target of his sacrifice to Thay. Hallister agreed. Before the party went back into Undermountain one last time, they decided who would receive the Godhood. Each person would state the name of the person they felt should receive it beside themselves. The warlock was dead and unable to be revived at this point, so the party wasn't able to get his vote. The cleric went first and voted for the Barbarian. The Barbarian went next and voted for the cleric. The Mystic was third and also voted for the cleric. I need to step back here to earlier in the campaign for a moment. Early on, the cleric and the paladin dated. The cleric worshipped a goddess of truth and love, and the paladin's oath was only to herself. Despite how different they were, the two got along well. However, after some arguments involving trust and the paladin being tired of feeling belittled by the cleric's lectures on how the paladin acted, the two broke up. After the cleric had 2 votes, and with only 2 votes remaining, the paladin, realizing she wouldn't get chosen, decided that if she didn't get godhood, neither would the cleric. So she decided to instead cast her vote for the Open Lord of the Waterdeep, the Battlemaster. A noble of Waterdeep realized that this wasn't a bad choice, and she cast her vote for the Open Lord as well. There now was a 2-way tie between the cleric and the Open Lord, both chosen of goddesses. With no way to break the tie, the party opted to let the gods themselves decide. The cleric prayed to her goddess, asking her to seek out the opinion of the good-aligned gods on who the party should pick. The goddess told her it would take some time, but it was possible. Then the party trekked down into Undermountain one last time, to fend off one of the most powerful liches in the world and allow Hallister Blackcloak to rise as a god, along with one other soul. The party ended up teaming up with Hallister's simulacrum to fight Tam, and they just barely won. Afterward, only the Barbarian and the fighter were left standing. The cleric had been killed by a Nightwalker that Tam brought, and the Paladin and Mystic were both down by Sas Tam and had their souls taken by him. The 2 remaining party members ventured back to the chamber where Hallister was. He informed the 2 they only had 2 hours until the sacrifice would happen, and they had to pick who would achieve godhood by then. The Barbarian prayed to his god while the Battlemaster prayed to Bahamut. The Battlemaster was told that the gods had convened and decided that the godhood should go to the Open Lord. Gloria, despite being the goddess of truth and love, didn't want to pass up on the chance to have a subordinate god under her, which would grow her own power. She told the Barbarian that while the gods collectively chose the Open Lord, Gloria herself never promised she would tell her followers to go with the final decision of the gods. She told him to take it for himself. Hallister stood before the Barbarian, waiting for his answer. The Barbarian had godhood dangling right in front of him, and all he had to do was ask for it. Still being connected to his goddess via his prayer, the Barbarian simply said,
"Nah, God is just a title. I don't need that shit."
Earlier in the campaign, the party was fighting Baphomet. At one point, a member of the party exclaimed something about the power of a demon lord. The Barbarian proceeded to reply,
Demon Lord is just a title.
Dismissing the Demon Lord entirely. 1 round later, Baphomet rolled a crit on the Barbarian with a goring charge and downed him, so X is just a title had not gone well for him in the past. Still, that was his response to turn down Godhood. Gloria was dumbfounded. Hallister just cackled. I couldn't think of a proper response in or out of character. After a few moments, I got my composure back and went on despite wanting to laugh. The Barbarian and the fighter went to the surface to retrieve the Open Lord so she could be present for her apotheosis. And that is how my party had Godhood dangled on a stick in front of them, and none of them got it because of a scornful ex-lover's spite and a Barbarian who hates meaningless titles. The good news though? All of the party members were eventually brought back to life, and some of them had their personal magic items empowered to artifacts for their role in raising a new god. So I've got a perfect setup for an epic level campaign with these guys where the now god Hallister makes a dungeon in his divine domain called Overmountain, and traps the party in it for a second time. End post. Power move, Barbarian. Power move. Imagine having bigger dick energy than being offered Godhood twice, and both times saying, I don't really need it. It honestly reminds me of Diogenes and his encounter with Alexander the Great. According to the legend, Alexander the Great came to visit the Greek philosopher Diogenes, and he wanted to fulfill a wish for Diogenes and asked him what he wanted. Diogenes then replied, "Stand out of my sunlight." Ancient history aside, if you have a cool story of TRPG awesomeness, do drop it in the subreddit as I will be focusing on these all week. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories just like this one. Till next time.